Hey guys, this is Joe. I'm the digital astronomer. I want to thank you for tuning into my channel today. This is the second video that I've put together on the Dwarf Labs Dwarf 2 Smart Telescope. In the first video that I did about a week ago, I was doing an unboxing and initial impressions, but now I've had a chance to work with the scope a little bit, and I'm convinced that this is the easiest to use and most affordable smart telescope on the market today. It is a perfect telescope for beginners in astrophotography. And even if you are an experienced astrophotographer like me, or an intermediate, I should say, this is still going to be a lot of fun for you to play around with and use. So what I want to invite you to do is stick around. Today we're going to look at the very first steps that you should take to get started. We're going to go from setup all the way through capturing and processing our first images of the sun. Stick around. Okay guys, as I said, today I'm going to show you the first light and how to take your Dwarf 2 smart telescope out for the very first time. Now, I recommend that you do this during the daylight hours. That's going to make things a lot easier. When you later go out at night, things are going to be much easier if you get a good start and kind of get a feel for this telescope during the daylight hours. So I've got a beautiful, clear fall day. Sun is nice and bright, and so I'm going to try to do a little bit of solar imaging for my first light. And I want to kind of walk you through the steps. First thing you're going to need to do is decide whether or not you're going to use the stock tripod that comes with the Dwarf 2. And so if I decided to use that, I would just go ahead and screw it on top of here, set this up, and try to get this as on a level of a surface as you possibly can. You could put it on a picnic table. You could put it on any kind of little stand. You could probably set it on the roof of your car or your SUV if you wanted to, and just get it in a spot where you want it and make sure it's pretty level. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this here. I'm going to turn the camera a little bit. I'm going to use my photographic tripod, and I've got a little tiny bubble level on this one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this around towards the direction that I'm going to be imaging. And I'm going to kind of have to stand up here. Let me move the camera back a little bit. And what I want to do now is I want to adjust the legs. I can see that I'm not quite level. And what I need to do here is to lower this leg just a little tad. And then it looks like I need to lower this leg. See if that could, no, I need to actually raise this leg just a little bit. Okay, so right about there, actually, I need to turn this around. Okay, yeah, that's even better. All right, and so here I am level now, and I'm ready to set up. That's step number one. That's going to make your imaging a lot better if you get started by getting a level, solid surface. I recommend using a photographic tripod, but if you want to use the stock tripod, you can do that as well. That's step number one. Okay, step number two in getting your Dwarf 2 set up and ready to image is to connect it to your smartphone or to your Android tablet. First thing that I need to do, you can see here I've got the mount leveled and ready to go. I've got the Dwarf 2 put on top. I'm going to go ahead and press the little button here, and you will see that probably lights a little bit too bright, the sunlight, but you might be able to see that the green lights have started to appear. The power indicators, also the indicator ring up here is on. The Dwarf 2 is on. Now I need to move over to my cell phone and to connect it to the app. Okay, I've got my Dwarf 2 turned on. I'm going to go over to my internet connections, and I'm going to see if its internet has come up yet. It's not come up yet. Okay, so let me go over here, and I'm going to hit connection. And this should turn on the Wi-Fi connection from the telescope to my phone. Now this process can take a minute or two, so don't get impatient with it. It might take just a little bit. But you can see it says it's connecting to the camera. Okay, so I need to go to System Settings, and I need to select Dwarf 2. There we go. It's obtaining the IP address. All right, so it's connected now to the Dwarf. Let's go back. Let's go ahead and press Exit. Connection. All right, we are connected now to the Dwarf 2, and we're ready to move on to the next step, which will be to get a rough focus. Okay, we've got the tripod leveled, we've got the Dwarf 2 connected to my cell phone. Now you need to get a rough focus. When you receive your Dwarf 2, it will not be in focus. And so what you want to do is find a distant object. I'm going to turn the camera around for a moment. And I don't know if you can see it, but beyond those houses, there is actually a cell phone tower. I'm going to use that as an object to go ahead and get a rough focus on my Dwarf 2. So let's go over to the app again. Okay, I'm in the app now, and you can see here I've got the wide field camera open up in the left-hand corner. You can always tell the wide field camera because it will have that little green square box. And I'll show you how to align these two cameras in just a couple minutes. Underneath of that, you can see I have got the Tele-vue lens, but it is out of focus. What it is actually doing, and I'll just show this to you here real quick, you can see if we kind of zoom in here on the wide field camera, you see that antenna? You can see that in the Tele-vue lens up in the left hand corner. I've moved over to the wide field zone, and you can see that it is out of focus. Now what I want to do is I want to tap on the Tele-vue lens so that I bring it back over, and then I'm going to go back over here to the far left hand screen, and where I've got my little screen selector, which is highlighted in green, I'm going to tap that so that I only have the Tele-vue lens on. Now I'm going to go back over to the right-hand side of the app, and I'm going to click on Focus. I do not want to use autofocus right now. What I want to do is use the little plus and minus signs to try to move this into focus and get my initial focus. So I'm going to move out. I'm going to move minus. That seems to be making it worse. So I'm going to go plus. Okay, it's getting a little bit better. A little bit better. Okay, now what I want to do is try to get this as focused as best as I can. Now, this is not focused at infinity by any means, but this gets me a rough focus so that when I go over to the sun, I'll be able to use the autofocus routine, okay? So now I've got my rough focus. Now it's time to make sure that my two cameras are aligned, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, I want to show you something here really quick on the front of the Dwarf 2, and I want to be careful here that I don't point this at the sun. But on the camera, there are actually on the Dwarf 2, there are actually two cameras. Over here, you have the telephoto lens, which is what we're going to use to image our objects, and then you have the wide field angle camera. when you receive your Dwarf 2, it is unlikely that they are going to be aligned. And so you're going to need to go through a brief alignment process. Now, this isn't too bad. If you're just doing like night sky and you're going to do the calibration, it will calibrate without doing this step. But if you want to be able to move over and, find the sun or the moon, this is an important step, and you really need to take a second to do it. So let me go over to the app and I'll show you. It's a really easy process. Okay, we are now in the app, and you can see on my main screen, I've got the wide angle lens underneath. And you can see that because see the big green spot here? That little box marks where it thinks my Tele-vue lens is pointed. And you'll notice up here in the top left hand side of the screen, the actual Tele-vue lens is not pointing at this tree. It is actually pointing to the antenna, which is over to the left, and you can see it here right above this guy's garage. So what we need to do is we need to line these two things up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on my Tele-vue screen to make it larger, and I'm actually going to turn off the wide angle screen. I'm going to come down here, and this little green dot in the lower left hand corner of your screen is your joystick, and you can see I can move the camera with this joystick. And what I want to do is get it roughly aligned here in the middle of my image. Okay, so now I've got it lined up. Now I want to go back over to the little box. There's a box within a box over here. When I click on it, it will turn green. It has opened up the wide angle camera. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the wide angle, turn off my Tele-vue lens. Let me go out of Astro Dark here and out of feature so you can see this. Now what I want to do is, you see that little box, the green box that's over top of that tree. I want to drag it so that it will be centered up on that antenna. Now, if I go over here and I open up my Tele-vue lens again, you'll notice my Tele-vue lens and my wide angle lens. The Tele-vue is the top left picture, and the wide angle is the main picture. You'll see that that little green box is centered up. So now when I want to go to objects like the sun or the moon, I can use my wide angle lens in order to frame things up. Okay, that's how you align your two cameras. Let's move on to the next step, and let's actually get ready to image the sun. Okay, because we're getting ready to image the sun, we need to make sure that we put on our solar filters, our neutral density filters, these very dark black filters here in my filter ring. I need to go ahead and get them put on to my filter holder. So what I want to do is I want to come over, take my filter holder, and I'm just going to screw these on like so. Just as a way of warning, don't ever look at the sun with your naked eyes, nor do you ever want to hold these up like a pair of opera glasses and try to look at the sun. They are not meant for that. They're only meant for your Dwarf 2. Once you have them ready to go, I'm going to take the Dwarf 2 off, and all we need to do is go ahead and snap them on like so. And by the way, you have a label here. Make sure that the one that's marked telephoto is over telephoto, the one that's over wide angle is over wide angle. Once you have it set up, now we are ready to slew over and start our solar imaging. I'm going to put this back on my tripod, and we're going to shift over to the app again. Okay, now that I have my solar filters on, I'm able to take my Dwarf 2, I'm able to aim it towards the sun. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the cameras up just a little bit so that they're roughly pointing to the sun. Be careful, don't look directly at the sun. You will hurt your eyes. Now that I'm kind of basically got my rough line up here. I'm going to go to the app and we're going to get ready to get started on our imaging. Okay, I am in the app, and you can see up here on the top left-hand screen, that's my wide angle camera. The bottom, the underneath, is my Tele-vue lens. And so what I want to do is go down here to the green dot, my joystick. When I tap on it, you will see it opens up the little directional buttons. And I want to begin to move the sun. You see that bright light there in the bottom of the screen? That is the sun. And I'm going to go ahead and move it. Okay, for some reason, it glitched there for a second, and it wasn't showing the movement on my wide-angle lens, but now it is. Okay, so let me go ahead and move over here. Oh, I moved the wrong direction. I always do this. I am directionally challenged. Anybody that knows me will admit to that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up. And now you see into my Tele-vue lens, you can see the sun is starting to move into the picture. Once I get it over here towards the middle a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and turn the wide angle lens off. I'm going to move the sun up. I'm going to try to get this centered up. And I am not very good with these with this joystick. Okay, I'm going to be the first to tell you that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to go over here to the far right hand side. You see where I'm changing here. I want to go to video, I want to go to feature, and I want to hit sun, and that's going to start my tracking. Okay, so now I'm tracking on the sun, and now I need to go and adjust my gain and exposure levels because they're way too high. So I'm going to go to the left-hand side of the screen, and you'll see the little, there's 3 vertical lines with circles, there's 3 horizontal lines with circles through them. Click on that. Go down here under S where it says auto, that's my shutter speed. And I want to take this down to about 250. My gain is going to be 0. IR is going to be cut. Okay? And now that I've got that, I'm going to close that. And now I'm going to focus in. I need to get focused. You can see I'm a little bit out of focus here. So I'm going to hit the focus button. Then on this time, I'm going to click auto and watch what's going to happen. It brings it in, and look at that. There are 2 fairly, I think they are, sizable sunspots on the surface of the sun. So now what I want to do to capture a picture, I'm actually going to take a video of this. And so what I want to do is go over here in my big red button. I'm going to click on it, and now I've started recording. More experienced solar imagers could probably give you a more exact time. I'm going to shoot about 1.5 minutes or so long video with this. In fact, I'm going to shoot several of those so that I can take them in and process them. Again, I think I've got this set to one frame every 250th of a second. Okay, so I'm shooting very fast, 0 gain with the IR cut filter on, just to give you an idea. We're going to go here to about 1.5 minutes. You can see the timer in the top middle part of the screen. You'll see I'm at 53 seconds, 54. We're going to go up to about 1:30. One of the things that I will point out about the solar imaging on the Dwarf 2 is that we are shooting in white light. So you're not going to get the prominences, the big flares. There is a particular kind of a flare, I can't remember what they call it, that you can sometimes catch in white light, but they're very rare. What we're basically imaging here is we are imaging sunspots. And so you can see there are a couple sunspots on there. When we process it, we might see some smaller ones. There might be a couple smaller ones that we just don't see. I can kind of zoom in there and we can take a look at it. But you can see those 2 sunspots. And I got to tell you that the Dwarf 2 tracks very, very well. Now, I've been talking and I ran over my time. So we'll just go ahead and stop it there. Now I've got my first video. Now I'm going to do that several times. I'm going to take maybe 4 or 5 of those length videos, and then I will pull them off and I'll show you next how you process a solar picture. So that's how we capture it. Now let's look at how we are going to process it. Okay, I'm here in my office now and I'm ready to start processing my images. The first thing I need to do, however, is to get my images off the Dwarf 2 and put them into my computer. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. The Dwarf 2 does have a little USB-C connection here that you can use for 2 things. If you wanted to power the Dwarf 2 with your electrical, with an extension cord, you can plug into there with just any kind of old USB-C charger, and that's very helpful. That way you don't run out of battery at night. But this also allows you to connect to your computer. Now, what you'll have to do is go over to the app and turn it to what they call MTD mode. Go to the settings and turn to MTD mode. Now, I have to be honest with you, that hasn't worked very well for me. Generally, my computer can pick up the Dwarf 2, but as soon as I start working with the files, it loses connection. It could just be a problem with my USB-C cable. It could be a problem with maybe the version of Windows that I'm using. What I found is the easiest way to get your images is simply to remove the SD card. So right here on the back of the Dwarf 2, you just simply take this off, pop this out, the little SD card, put it into this adapter. Now, if you bought the Dwarf 2 Deluxe version, the SD card that you need and the adapter comes with it. And so I encourage you, if you haven't bought one, get the Deluxe version. I'll be honest with you, you're going to save yourself a lot of hassle, because I guarantee you, you're going to want the solar filters, you're going to want this, you're going to want the extra battery that comes with it, so get the Deluxe model. If you've already bought the regular standard model, you're going to have to consult the website, the Dwarf 2 or the Dwarf Labs website, find out exactly what you need here. I think this is a 64 gigabyte SD card. All I'm going to do is remove it, put it into the little adapter that comes with it, and insert that into my computer. Then I can read off just like a drive. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my SD card out. I'm going to get things set up. We're going to go over to the computer and we're going to start processing. Okay, very quickly, I want to walk you through how to process a lunar image. This same process could also be used on lunar imaging as well, perhaps with maybe an additional step or 2. But I'll do another video specifically on taking lunar images. Right now, let's concentrate on solar images. First thing I want to do is I want to drag these files, these 4 MP4 files that contain my solar imaging videos. These are the videos, these are my capture videos. I want to take those and I want to drag them over into a file on my desktop that I've created. I don't want to do my processing on the SD card. Okay, so I've dragged those over, copied them on my computer. The next thing I need to do is I need to change these MP4 files into AVI files. The reason for that is we're going to use a program here in a couple of minutes called Auto-stakkert, and I cannot use MP4 in Auto-stakkert. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take this file, I want to drag it over into Pipp. By the way, I've put a link on how you can download this free software onto your computer in the description, so just go there. I'm going to leave everything here the same except on the defaults, rather. I'm going to leave it on the defaults except for output options. I want to make sure my output option is clicked on AVI. So I'm going to turn this MP4 file into an AVI file. And again, the only reason I'm doing that is that allows me then to do more processing in Auto-stakkert. Okay? So, and I'll explain what Auto-stakkert does in a minute. So now I'm going to click on Do Processing. Once it's finished, it'll take a minute or 2. It's going to create a new file on my computer that says Pipp, and that's got my pre-processed image or AVI file in there that I can then take into Auto-stakkert. And I'm just going to clear this off, and I'll show you how this works real quick. I'm going to close this. All right. I'm going to take that file, that pip file, and I'm going to drag it over here into Auto-stakkert. Now, what Auto-stakkert does is, first of all, it shows me the total number of frames. See here where it says number sign F2255? That's the total number of frames that are there in my AVI file. Now, what I want to do is I want to take the best of these frames and I want to stack them so that I have a clearer, sharper image. I want to take this 2,255 frames and I want to condense the best frames down and create one image out of them. Okay, this is called lucky imaging, by the way. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to cut through some of the currents in the atmosphere that might make our pictures look kind of wavy and out of focus. We want to cut through all of that, and we want to stack the very, very best images. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on Analyze. It'll go through a process of looking through all of these frames, and it's going to evaluate them for me. So I'm going to pause until it's done. This will take a minute or two, and then I'll be right back. Okay, you can see here now, Pipp has gone through and has created a quality graph. And overall, this is pretty good data. Anything above this middle line here are images that we could keep and we could stack. Now, I can set either the total number of frames or a percentage of the frames to stack. I can also set multiple. I could create multiple different stacks. For simplicity, we're just going to stack the best 25% of our frames. Now, the way we do that is we come over here, and over here on the left-hand side of this second panel that it's opened up, we're simply going to click on Place AP Grid. That is going to draw a bunch of little boxes around the disk of our sun. I've got it all set on multi-scale, so you'll notice there's some big ones, there's some little ones, there's different size boxes. These are the alignment points, and this is what the computer is going to use to line everything up and give me a nice, clean, sharp stack. Once I've done with that, I press stack. It's going to run for a few moments, and then what's going to happen is we're going to end up, it's going to create a new folder, and it's going to give us this. This is our stacked image. Now you'll notice it's not that impressive, okay? It doesn't really show a lot of color in it, and we can improve this image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to Photoshop. I'm going to close this here for just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and open. I'm going to actually drag and drop that picture in here to Photoshop. And we could do a lot with this picture, okay? Just to make this very simple, first couple of things that I want to do is I want to go over here to Filter, go to Camera Raw. This is my favorite tool in Photoshop. I'm going to come down here to Color, and I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit, all right? Immediately notice the disk starts turning more yellow. I can bring up the vibrance a little bit, and I can make that color stand out. You'll notice that I got nice orange, yellow things around the edge. The middle, I might be a little bit overexposed. And what I mean by that is I might have wanted to go down and shoot a little faster frames. I'm not a great solar imager, so again, this is a little bit new to me, but that's what I might have wanted to do, is just drop the image down just a little bit. Bring the temperature up a little bit. Now you can see we're getting a nice orangish color here. We go to light. Might go ahead and drop the exposure down a little bit just to get rid of some of that, what I think is an overexposed center part of the star. I'm going to drop the highlights down just a little bit. And you can play with all of these. If you don't like them, just press cancel, and you can come back and you can get do it however you want. You can change the change that temperature up there a little bit. And again, you just go over and mess with these. If you wanted to maybe change that orange to a little more yellow or to a little more orange, however you want to do it. I kind of like it right about in here. I'm going to press OK. Overall, I am pretty happy with that image. One thing that I've noticed, if I zoom in here, as I've processed that a little bit more, there are some more sunspots here. Look, there's a couple here. There's a couple here. I'm a little overexposed. If I would have shortened up that the frames instead, I think I shot this at 1/250th of a second. I think if I would have went a little bit faster than that, I might have been able to even get a little better pictures of these. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. You can see I could probably go in here in the filter and maybe even let's see if we can bring those out just a little bit more. Let me zoom in here so I can see them. And let me turn up the contrast a little bit. Let me see. If I actually move the contrast back this way, they stand out better. All right. If I drop the exposure down a little bit. Oh, there. Now they're starting to come out. If I drop that exposure back, that just shows you that overexposure there kind of messes things. All right. There we go. Drop the whites back a little bit. Now you can really start to see we've got several sunspots that we didn't see initially, but as we've processed it, we've started to see them come out. All right, I like that image. I'm happy with it. I'm going to press OK. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save that. Actually, I'm just going to click on save right here. Now this saved it as a TIFF file. If you want to share it on Facebook and that kind of thing, you might want to crop it down a little bit and then maybe export it as a PNG file. But overall, I'm really happy with that. All right. That's how you process the images coming out of your Dwarf 2 if you're doing solar imaging. All right, guys, thank you for sticking around with me and watching this video to the end. In the next video, what I'm going to do is we're going to get out under the night sky and we're going to capture our first deep sky objects. And a lot of the process is the same, but we're going to walk through it nevertheless, and then we're going to learn how to do some processing with it. If you'd like to order, if you haven't bought a Dwarf 2 and you'd like to order one, I am an affiliate. You can help my channel out by clicking on the links below and buying it either through Amazon, or if you're in the United States, or if you're in another country, directly from Dwarf Labs. But please use the links below, and that's going to help my channel out through my affiliate link. So thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again very soon.